Hey guys, good morning. This is Cliff with Curry Custom Cutlery. I have some work to do today and I thought we'd try a different format, maybe something a little different. We're going to do what I'm going to call a shop and talk. And I'm going to show you around the shop. We're going to do some work and we can talk about some different topics about sharpening while I'm doing it. We'll head on back to the back area. This is our front area now that we've got we're moved into the new space. Lots of new products are in stock now, and the front end display is getting there. And then we got our back work area. So I'm going to be doing some cleanup back here in the back work area. Got some setup today. My main setup focus today is working with 2-inch machines. I know a lot of times we work on the 1-inch machines. There's the rest of the shop too. We got a few things coming back into stock, but most everything is back available and in stock. Before I can get into the new products and new equipment testing and building, I've got a couple knives to sharpen. So this is 7 knives. I'm going to use the angle guide. I've got a fresh Cubitron belt on here. The angle guide is going to allow me to keep an angle, cut it in, remove the material, apex it, and stop immediately when we get to the top. Right now there's light reflecting back off the top. You don't need to do more than that because I can see the knife actually apex. I've also sharpened these knives before, so they're already at that angle. You keep your angle guide in a fixed position. Once you've sharpened once, it's really easy to put it back on the same thing. This is a very skinny fillet knife, and a lot of people say they can't do them. What you can do is you can actually angle it a little bit. As you come around the corner like that, you keep just the edge of the knife on one of the little corners like that. This one got quite a bit duller than the others. There we go. Down and back usually takes care of it. Holding it edge leading up into the light also allows you to see any dings or chips. So you're doing a visual inspection while you're doing the work, and the work is right here in front of you. I think this is probably the most ideal way to sharpen that I'm aware of. I'm not down here. I'm not using a stick. I'm right here with it in front of me. I'm in full control. Bring up the burr from the back and lightly kiss it on the angle. Same thing here. Down the back. Move the burr back to the other side. I get that over a little bit. This step just refining that apex. There is no huge burr. So what you're relying on is that your angle guide is set at a slightly higher degree to make sure that the belt hits the apex of the knife. There's some other little telltale indicators I've talked about before. One of them is see the dust from the belt actually coming over the top edge of the knife, and that only happens when you're sharpening the apex of the knife and little particles come over the top. I'm still using the 3 micron on the leather belt. The reason why this works so good is because there is no large foil burr. So depending on how much I push, how many strokes I put on it, and how toothy I want it to be. This is a biting edge, but it's still shaving sharp, and that's that sweet spot I always try to hit. If you wanted it to be a little more polished, I could come up here and put it on the wheel, the serrated one, for example, or anything that's just chopping. that was, I don't know, what would we say, 7 knives? 7 knives in just a couple minutes. And no fancy gimmicks. You don't need to have a complicated process. You don't need a lot of little widgets and gadgets. Part of the fun of that is people will still say that you can't do that many knives that quick and have perfect angles like you would with a Tormek or a slow speed system. And the truth is that the belt being with the angle guide, you do get the repeatable edge bevels. You can look at them, you can see them, and it is the most repeatable, fastest method that I know of. I do other methods, and that's why I want to talk to about today. But for people to say that this method isn't a valid method, they just really don't quite understand what's going on. Second item of the day. Hopefully we're in focus still. Let's come on back down here, and we'll see what we got for our next item. This is actually a pretty cool item. This is a, when I first picked it up, I immediately said, oh, that feels like a cold steel. And it has no markings on it. And I think it's, the gentleman told me that this is from Desert Storm, so that's 34 years ago, 35 years ago. And they issued several hundred of these with absolutely no markings on them for anonymity. Not sure what the reasoning would be for that. And then the other one he gave me is a bayonet, but it's more like a K-bar. Does have some really aggressive jimping there. So what we did with this one, I'm going to repeat the process just for you guys here on camera. I've got a new wheel that we're trying out. This is the 1000 grit wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in the bevel. I'm going to leave it with a slight convex, but we're going to lower it down just a little bit. So I brought up the burr. And then I want to see what what I probably should have done. See how smooth this one runs? That's been trued. And this one I just plopped on the machine. So every wheel, when you get it, you'll have to true it up just a little bit. And it's got a little hop to it. So truing is its own thing that's a little tricky to do. This should be bolted down, and then you can get a solid surface at an angle with an abrasive sandpaper and hold it against it. But you want this to be solid so it doesn't go moving around on you too. I just set this up here to sample it. So what we've done is I went to a 240 grit. So I went off the 80 grit belt to a 240 grit. Now I've got 240 grit scratches. And what I'm trying to see is if from 240, can the 1000 grit wheel also deburr? And it sure looks like it can. Typically I use the 600 grit for the deburr step. So some of the blue compound that we have, this brings in a real high luster. So for those that are following along, my goal is to, of course, get it sharp. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have a tool in my lineup where I can remove the damage, reprofile, reshape, touch it to give it a satin polish, touch it to give it a near mirror polish, and remove the burr, and then do a final polishing step. And the less steps you have, the quicker you're going to be able to get your job done. So you don't want to have too many fussy steps. You don't want to go from an 80 grit belt to a 120 grit wheel to a 240 grit wheel to a 600 grit wheel to a 1000 grit wheel. You basically like to remove damage and apex the thing, satin polish, and buff and deburr all at one step. So 3 steps is usually ideal. So we're trying to see where this 1000 grit can fit into that section. I'm going to take this one. So I'm just going to cut in a bevel on it. It has been dropped. The tip is missing. So I did talk to him before we did this, and I explained this is actually, it looks like a K-bar, but it's actually a bayonet, and it's thick. And so if we're going to put a functional bevel on there, it's going to be wide. That's because we want the angle to be low, so that it can actually cut anything. What we're able to do is freehand match the bevels, those side to side. So I cut in a clean bevel on this side, and I cut in a clean bevel on this side, and we got our tip back. Then I'm just going to go from the 240 grit wheel to say I really kind of like the way that looks. It's got more of a sheen and a luster to it than the 600 grit, and it definitely removed the burr, so it could do the same job as the 600 but with a higher satin polish. Down and back, down and back, and it's a pretty shiny edge, you guys. Every step is trying to do 2 things. This step is removing the last of the burr and getting it as sharp as possible while polishing it. And the power of the wheels are very powerful because they are spinning so fast that you get results very quick. Let's see if this will show up on the camera. You can see some small scratches there. I probably could have focused in on a little more. Overall, that is looking pretty good, considering it's a bayonet. So we got the bayonet, we got the, I like that this is anonymous. That's pretty cool. But when I picked it up, I went, oh, that feels just like a cold steel. And he actually confirmed it was made by Cold Steel. So there's a little bit of lore there. Cold Steel apparently made some anonymous knives for the armed services. I think what I'll do is I'll finish up with this one. We'll keep these videos a little bit on the shorter side, and then I will just cut, get reset up, and then we'll focus in on all the new stuff that we have going on. And what we're going to try and do is do a two belt machine that's 2 inches. And it's trickier than it sounds because nobody makes it. Here's a small Gerber. This is one of the areas where I think this machine, the 1-inch machine, is unbeatable compared to a 2-inch machine. And even as you could be your best freehander, you can go with the slack belt or on the platen. But to get, I'm gonna make sure you guys can see this. So this bevel, it's rounded at the tip. It's a fairly large bevel, but in no way does it match the bevel on this side. So you got 2 different size bevels, and it's not very crisp, would be the word I'm looking for. It's got some roundness to it, and then you can see where the light's reflecting off the top. That's where it's super dull. What you can do, because of the angle guide, is you can place it here flat, and you get just this really high level of control. I'm going to bring it up, and you can hear it, and then I can rotate it around, And then I always alternate side to side so that you keep them symmetrical. This side is the side that needs to be bigger, so I'm going to focus more work on it. I'm going to push a little harder. And so already I've got the bevels matching each other a little bit. The other thing I don't like is this has got a very high drop point on it. So I'm going to bring it down by focusing on this little area right there. And you can literally shape the knife right in front of you by guiding and controlling it to the very finest level. This side's a little wide at the back, and you will run into variations in the steel as well. And then I'll match the back to it. I spent a little more time than I normally would, but I'm trying to make a point for the camera. And that's the rough bevel. Serrations feel good, so we're not going to hit them from the back on this one. And then with this angle matching, this little machine has been the perfect little serration station, or stropping station, this little machine. Shaving sharp. If you want to hit the serrations, you could use the wheel for that. There we go. All right. Okay, guys. Well, that is just a quick overview of a little bit of shop work we're going to do. I'm going to cut the video here, and then I'm going to get reset, and we'll take a look at. I have 2 buck tools, and then down on the floor, I have my original variable speed palm grand with a multi-tool 2x36. And I have some new things that we're going to try and plug them in. I am going to do that today. Whether that video comes up today or not, we'll see. I might have to edit it a little bit more. This is just a quick show and tell video. I'm trying to get into this new format where we maybe talk about stuff while I'm sharpening. I am going to be at the Wolf Show in Reno, Nevada in October. We'll be teaching and presenting there at the event and having a good time. Anybody that's interested in that, you can check the description below, and I'll try and put some links there to the Wolf Show, maybe in the comments, and I'll pin the comment at the top. Hope you guys are having a great day. If you need anything, any of your supplies, please go to shop.currycustomcutlery.com, and I will see you on the next one. Aloha.